Recently, we've been talking a lot about Xbox on the channel, and rightfully so. Questionable decision making, some interview quotes that, well, just don't make a lot of sense, and plus, I am an Xbox YouTuber. I try to not be overly negative about Xbox, but sometimes they just make it very hard for me to do because I feel like some of the decisions that they are making aren't exactly the best for the brand and the company. Now, we recently had a latest financial report coming out for Xbox, and I wanted to talk about some of the things within this because, once again, it was not all negative. There were some positives for the Xbox brand when it came to this financial report, but there was one thing that sticks out like a sore thumb. And it always sticks out like a sore thumb. And it's my biggest problem with Xbox and kind of what they're doing now and with their future. So I want to talk about it in today's video. Hope you had a happy and safe Halloween. I have not celebrated Halloween yet because I'm celebrating it on November 1st, which is when this video is going up. However, I'm filming this on the 31st, so I'm not in my costume quite yet. No, it's not the same costume that I wore in yesterday's video. I will clue you guys in, though, with a picture whenever I am in full garb. But let's talk about this Xbox thing, some of the quotes that were done from our two favorite people, Satya Nadella and Amy Hood, and talk about what is going on within the Xbox brand. So, something that was interesting was that services and content for Xbox was up 1% year over year for the quarter ending September 30th, 2025 when it comes to the revenue side of things. Now, obviously, there are two different things to take away from that. First and foremost, that is not the 30% that Amy Hood is instructing Xbox to do. So right then and there, that should be a big red flag. However, you kind of have to look at the larger picture when it comes to Xbox and the content and services that are being talked about, because primarily that was relying on things like Game Pass and then what third-party companies were doing. The last quarter, the one before this, had a much better lineup of games, such as, Elder Scrolls 4, Doom the Dark Ages, Oblivion Remastered, whereas for the quarter that's being reported now, primarily it was like Grounded 2 and Gears of War Reloaded. So of course, that was going to be not as strong because not as many titles came out. And it does seem like Game Pass has done its job in sort of bolstering and keeping things going in a positive direction. I know we're getting into the elephant in the room, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But for now, for the quarter that just ended, Game Pass was a driving factor with it, and third-party companies were a driving factor. So, hey, things are up. Like, that's a good thing, right? But then there's the other elephant in the room, which we haven't talked about yet. And that is, of course, hardware sales. Because guess what, folks? Nobody's buying Xbox hardware. I know, a shock. Surprise, surprise that nobody is buying Xbox systems. Because once again, it seems like every year that we get a new report or a new quarterly report that goes talking about year over year sales for the Xbox consoles, it is down substantially. And once again, Xbox hardware is down 30% year over year. So people weren't buying Xbox systems last year. People aren't buying Xbox systems this year, and this quarter does not take into account the second price update that they have done with the Xbox brand, thus making it more expensive. Now, we know from basic research that we did before that it seemed like Xbox sold about 2 million systems last year, and that's not great. That's not great no matter how you chalk it up, because you have the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S. Now we're having to make that portion even smaller and even smaller and even smaller because less and less people are buying Xbox consoles. Now, in a bubble, you would think, oh, well, now they obviously want to do some very strong things with Xbox as a brand. They want to, increase stuff, and they want Xbox to become more popular. But they don't care. They don't care that Xbox consoles are not selling. And it's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. If they did care, they would be doing things to make the Xbox systems more attractive for people to want to pick up. If anything, they made it less attractive with price increases, now with 2 price increases, and the main driving force, bringing back the other elephant in the room, Game Pass being the reason why it was a decent enough quarter to have a 1% increase in overall revenue, Game Pass being the driving force of that. But now you increase the price of Game Pass. Now, in the short term, sure, okay, I see what you're doing here. You increase the price of Game Pass, then you'll get more money from people. But then you get into the whole thing where people are just going to stop supporting it. They're not going to use Game Pass. They're going to go down to a lesser tier or just completely unsubscribe. So Microsoft actually expects revenue to decline for Xbox because of this. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, well, what's going to be the thing that drives revenue up to that 30%? Because it's not your consoles. You don't care about the consoles. You literally do not care about selling consoles because everything is an Xbox. I said this months ago on the Spawncast, and many people were like, what the hell is he talking about? Of course Xbox cares about selling consoles. Why would they still be making consoles? I don't know why they're still making consoles. I really don't. I don't know why they're focusing on the Xbox Series X and S. And realistically speaking, I think this new hybrid system that has Steam on it and stuff could potentially come out in 2026. Because I think they have realized that consoles are no longer beneficial for them. At least with this new hybrid system, you got Steam on it. And according to Satya Nadella, little head honcho over there at Microsoft, who seems to be calling the shots with someone like Amy Hood, Satya Nadella believes that Windows gaming is the biggest gaming thing in the world, not taking into account that Windows gaming is big because Steam is big. If Steam was not on Windows gaming, nobody would use Windows gaming, really. Like, it wouldn't be a factor. Steam is much bigger than Windows gaming. Windows needs Steam. Steam doesn't necessarily need Windows. And I really think this just shows you that this is like, they want the death of the traditional console. They don't care about selling consoles. They're making a next generation system, but it's not a system that is going to be something that I feel is going to light the world on fire. And I believe that their projections for this system, like, I don't think they're going to manufacture like tons and tons of them. Like you see with the Nintendo Switch 2, where Nintendo is, trying to do 15+ million in the first year. I think they might cap this system out around 20 million life to date because it's going to be a tough sell. We already know that it's going to be super expensive. We already assume that it's going to be something that is a PC console hybrid, much like we're seeing with the handheld ROG, the Asus Xbox ROG Ally X, which, I mean, is really just a PC with a little bit of an Xbox skin on it. But it's so bizarre to me how they don't care. They don't care. I think it's clear as day. They do not care because here's the thing. If they did care about Xbox sales and, people getting an Xbox console, they would do something to make it to where people want to buy one. They would advertise it. Like I said, go back to what I was talking about a couple of weeks ago with the holiday advertisements that I got from Walmart and Amazon. There was like no Xbox stuff in there. They're not marketing the Xbox console. They don't care if people buy it. They want you to play the games. And you know what? I don't think that's the worst idea in the world. I don't think that's the worst idea in the world. But if you want to be a publisher, be a publisher. You want to be a publisher developer, be a publisher developer. You do have all of these IPs. You do have all of these games. I just don't understand the point in putting R&D into things like, of course, manufacturing these systems, figuring out what these systems need to have when you're not passionate about it, when you don't care if they succeed or not. And shareholders don't care about Xbox consoles either. Satya Nadella, Amy Hood, they do not care about Xbox consoles. They want the Series X and S to go away. They want this new thing to come out. And then, when this doesn't do well, they could be like, well, it's time to stop making consoles. This is a scapegoat. This is an excuse for them. And of course, it's really bizarre because, of course, when you look at Microsoft overall, they did extremely well. Things were up across the board with other divisions of them, but they still had to lay off all of those people, because of reasons and stuff like that. Really goes to show you that even when you're successful, you're still never good enough, and you could be removed and replaced. And here comes the AI and stuff. That's a topic for another day, though. I don't want to get too morbid in this video, but like, save up canned food and stuff like that. I've watched Terminator 2. I know how this all plays out, and the fact that like nobody else sees this or believes it is really weird to me. But let me know what you think about all of this. Do you think Xbox cares about selling consoles? Because I don't see how you could. When the numbers are consistently down, when there's no driving force to sell the consoles, when you diminish the brand and say everything's an Xbox, so you don't have to buy this thing. You could play it on your computer. You could play it on your phone. You could play it on the new ROG system. It's got a little Xbox logo on it, but even the Xbox fanboys are like, yeah, it's a good handheld PC, but it's no, it's not an Xbox. Like, just trim the fat at this point in time. Get rid of the hardware division. Like, what are you doing? You don't care. There's consummate proof that you do not care. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like, comment, and share. And how do you see this playing out? Do you think that... I don't know. I don't know what you could think. Like, do you think there's going to be, like, Black Friday Xbox deals going on, even though they just did another price increase? Maybe they'll go down to the first price increase price point for Black Friday and try to move some systems that way? I mean, that's something. You throw in, Redfall or something to boost those numbers up, because I spoiler alert, Redfall did not get you that 30% profit margin, pal. No sirree. You were nowhere near that. Halo Infinite didn't do it either. Honestly, I don't think many of your games are doing it, but that's a topic for another day. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.